Let me thank Chairwoman Lois Franco for convening all of us. I do want to thank the Women's Law Center and Fatima Graves for bringing the voice of research and reasoning and fairness to this discussion. But all these people standing behind me, I just want to thank you all for being here to discuss the defaulting on women and families. Before I left my office today, I heard what the certified public accountants thought about the default. I know what the Chamber of Commerce thinks about defaulting on our debt. I know what global markets think about our defaulting on our families, but don't make any mistake about it. The people who will be impacted immediately will be families, women, and children in ways that people might not necessarily anticipate. You heard Fatima talk about those families who are at the bottom already. Those women who are so poor that they find themselves in need of the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families Act. And often, to qualify for TANF, you have to be at 50% of the poverty level. You really don't have to be a math genius to figure it out. These are people who are at great risk of being evicted because they can't pay rent, being food insecure, and even if they go to the shelter, the food pantries to get food, they may not have utilities to even warm the food up. These are people who can't afford, as the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities has pointed out, things we take for granted. They can't buy diapers and Pampers for their kids. They can't buy sanitary products for themselves. That the health care of children and families are at risk. And let me tell you about these default negotiations. Republicans claim that they're trying to claw back funds so that we can extinguish the $32 trillion of debt. That's trillion. That's 12 zeros, people. And the way they want to do it, Kevin McCarthy has said that one of his red lines is that they got to have work requirements. Work requirements for women who might be 6 weeks postpartum with multiple children. They got to have work requirements from women who are facing and running away from domestic violence. And of course, domestic violence is one of the reasons that women fall into poverty. We know that with the maternal morbidity in our country, that 2/3 of women who die are finding themselves pregnant and in domestic violence situations. And it's a very risky time for them. And without the support of TANF, without the support of these meager funds, find themselves between a rock and a hard place. And what do Republicans want to do? Not only do they want to increase work requirements on people who may not be able to work because they have various barriers to themselves, but they want to stop the states from being merciful to women. Right now, those states are in the crosshairs. States that try to provide with their own funds support to women, they're in this negotiations. Republicans have said we will punish those states for not putting these women who are at risk. If we don't require them to go to work despite their barriers, we will punish states if they provide their own state funds to help them out of poverty. And what do they get out of it? How does that help them toward the bottom line? of getting rid of the $32 trillion in debt. You know what it gets them? According to the Congressional Budget Office, it gets them $6 million over 10 years. A rounding error. Now you need to really be a genius to figure this part out. What is 0.0000019% of 32 trillion? That's the savings that they get for stepping on the heads of women and children. This debate is about resurrecting the welfare queen and about alleging that the people on the bottom, women and children, are unworthy of the prospects of citizenship in this country, and that is to be able to just eat and have a place to live. I say to my Republican colleagues, negotiate, raise the debt ceiling, don't default on our debt, and don't default on our families. And I yield back to you, Fatima.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for your work and your passion. Our next speaker, I'm really